So what we want to talk about this week, after we do wins and losses, but I just want to talk about head trash. And that's one of my favorite pictures. So, and I like the quote that's from Greg Brewer, who was one of my mentors. Said, "Clean up your stinking thinking." But let's start off like we usually do. What happened this week? Anybody have any wins and losses from a sales perspective?
I had a pretty bogged down week. I would say that the win was that I learned some things as far as like the high quantity, what we call RFQs, which is requests for pricing, basically. So yeah, learn some things on that. And fortunately, the customer and I have a pretty good relationship, and this is his first go around doing it as well. So he was pretty understanding, but um yeah, it's quite a bit different than
I'm not a
our
fan of the
normal side.
whole quoting, the bid quote hope thing, I call it. Because bids
Yeah,
means,
me.
I always ask them, are you going to take the low bidder? And they say, well, if they say yes, then I say, okay, well, we won't be the low bidder, so I'll pass. And if they say, well, no, I say, okay, so what else is going to be important besides the price? I want to have that discussion. So I find out, because there's going to come a point when they're going to look at our price, especially Mid-York, and say, you're higher than these Chinese guys.
Yeah.
And we have to
Well, it's sort of
differentiate.
an intricate situation in the sense that our price at some of their facilities, we've got four different locations four different factories that we could potentially send work to. So our price on some of them will only be competitive if we ship directly. And then if they look at their price on their current vendor, currently they accept it from their current vendor and then they warehouse it. So they've got to add that expense if they're going to look at our
Well, yeah, the
price to.
important thing is just to get that up front in your upfront contract, Luke, is just say like, okay, well, if you want us to bid on this, you have to understand we're not going to be the lowest price. So may I ask you, besides price, what are the differentiators? How are you going to make the decision besides price? And that can lead into a pain step too. I do that
Yeah.
all the time with PEO clients. I'll say, look, you can go to ADP and they'll promise you a low price. So what's going to be important to you besides price? And if they say, well, just price, I say, well, okay, be careful out there. A lot of people tell you it's a low price, and then if you find out later they're not giving you the whole story. Does happen.
That is part of the pain funnel, so to speak. I probably could have touched more on. I could have asked him, what do you think it costs you guys to warehouse the stuff from the other vendor, from the other printer?
Or something like,
Uh,
do they charge for warehousing? Do you have a warehousing agreement in place? Set it up first and say, oh, and so what does that cost? Is that figured into your calculations? Things like that. You don't want to be too aggressive, like, you realize they're going to charge you for warehousing, right? That's sort of,
right.
yeah. So you've been
Right.
recording your voicemails and then listening back to them. How's that working?
It's working in the sense that I went from 7 to 9 attempts down to probably 3 to 4 now, which is good.
Now that's a definite improvement. Great time saver.
Because it saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
But so that part of it's working, but I still kind of just want to stick to my system of why would you ever leave a live one if you don't have to? There's no way they can tell that it's pre-recorded.
So, oh,
It's
you mean
already
you're
recorded.
actually playing the recording?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you're just like
When their
practicing
When
and
their
then
message
reading.
goes, right, when their
Ah.
message goes, beep, I go, play.
Oh, that's interesting.
That way I know for sure that there's not one, no Elmer Fudd anywhere. It's butter smooth, guaranteed. They can't tell. And they can't
Oh, that's
tell.
great. Look, no Elmer Fudd.
I just
It's
try it
rabbit season.
sometime. Try it. Record yourself. You'll hate yourself. I guarantee it.
Well, we've been
I
talking
can
about,
relate to that. I hate hearing my own voice. I hate hearing my own voice, even with like dance. Like I hate watching myself dance.
nobody likes their own voice. I love
No.
your voice, but I can imagine that if you listen to it, it sounds different than you think you sound. And do you know that
Yes.
there's actually an anatomical reason for that?
No.
It's because your ear is connected to your bones in the jaw, and there's a resonance in your jaw which creates lower bass tones. Like, if you play your voice back and then boost the bass way up, that's what you hear yourself like. But what everybody else hears is take the bass out and it sounds kind of nasal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's irrelevant information, but you do have to practice listening to your own voice. My mentor group was just talking yesterday that a lot of us are going to start using some kind of recording device, Zoom or your iPhone or whatever, and record ourselves and listen back to it and hear how we sound.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that I've heard many times before. Toastmasters used to talk about all the time. Record yourself, listen to it back so you know what your expressions sound like. And when you think you're sounding really clever, you may not sound as clever as you think you are. Things like that.
Yep. I use my old cell phone because I'm making the call
Right. Yeah.
from my cell phone. So to have something already pre-recorded, basically I'm sitting there with two cell phones. One of them doesn't even have a data plan or a phone plan hooked up, but the recording device still works on it. So I use that as just a little, like those little recording devices from the 90s that you could stick in your pocket. Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. Well, no, those are phones.
Oh, I remember those things. I used to use those.
They had these little recording devices.
The little
and some of them
handheld-
even had little miniature. Yeah. Remember those?
Yes,
Yeah.
I used to use them for when I was on the radio. I'd go out and do interviews and use those.
Yeah, it was the same little tape that you could get in remember the old answering machines that were hooked up to the landlines? Same thing.
One of my
But
recordings
don't
is
have to-
still out on a website. In fact, it's an interview I did with a NASCAR driver, and he's still got it on his website. And we're talking 20 years ago. I think that's hysterical. Anyway. All right, Brooke, how about your win or loss before we move on?
Yeah, I would say I had a lot of wins. This past week, I did a lot of networking, a lot of talking to new people, and a lot, I don't want to say a lot, but many people that I got to connect with have the same customers as me. And there's this one guy in particular, he's from South Carolina. He's in merchant services. And we really, really hit it off. And we kind of we have a lot in common. But we came to a conclusion, when I get my cards, he really wants my cards so then he can hand them out or
Wait.
have that reminder.
He's in
And then
South Carolina. He's in South Carolina though, right?
Yes.
All right. Was this Jimmy, Larry, or
I think Jimmy Sorrell.
Jimmy Sorrells? Okay, yeah.
Have you talked to him?
No, but I'm looking at your activity sheet.
Yeah.
I do read them.
Yes. Good. And he was really, really helpful because I asked him one of the questions that you recommended that I ask. And I said, how do you network? And he sent me this whole list of networking websites of all different kinds.
Hmm.
And I mean, he took the time to just send me the whole thing. And he was just really nice. So we're going to do a follow up in a few months. And then I had another guy who wants to do a follow up with me in another few months because he really thinks that we could be strategic partners as well. So there's lots of like, because I've been kind of burnt out of, you know, calling the restaurant over and over again and then not getting anything, or then going there. Like the only loss would say I had was I went to one restaurant and it was just kind of like, this guy barely has any time. I don't have enough, he does not have enough time for me to listen to him. He's not really going down the route that I would like to go down on. So how do I redirect it? And
Hmm.
then I just kind of was like,
Well, who
towards
was asking the questions? Was it you or him?
it was me, and then I would listen because he wanted me to ask the question and then I would listen. But it was like, okay, this guy barely has any time. And how am I going to, and
Right.
I finally just at the end, I finally just said, you know, I started a new position with Employernomics. Employernomics does this. I would really like to get not your name, but your restaurant. You know, I will refer your restaurant to people. And he was like, well, how about this? How about when you get a card, you bring me your cards.
This guy
And
is making excuses. Okay. We're
and
going to deal with that today. We're going to talk about head trash.
it was just like,
You might get offended today. I just want to warn you.
it's okay. But he was really sweet. Like, don't get me wrong, he wasn't rude. He was really polite, really sweet. But it was just kind of like, why am I doing this kind of thing? Why do I keep wasting my time coming to these restaurants and doing this?
Well, for
I'm
one thing, you're now learning to recognize when you're wasting your time.
Yeah,
That's step
like,
one.
I'm
Now we're
wasting
going to go to
my
step,
time.
and now we're going to go to step two, trying to figure out how to get out of situations like that. I'll give you the shortest, easiest way to do it. And this
Okay.
is, it's funny, but it works. Okay. Just say, I assume this was the guy at Jack's Deli you were talking to.
Yes, he
Just
was
say,
the owner. Part owner.
excuse me, can you show me where the bathroom is? I have to pee. And you run to the bathroom, wash your face, and you collect yourself, you know, and you sit here and say, okay, what am I gonna do? It's, no one is ever going to say, no, sit here and let me finish talking. You can wait.
Yeah.
So I learned that from a networking guy. Just say, excuse me, I need to use the bathroom. I need you to leave the ladies' room. Is that it over there? Yeah, I'll be right back. Oh yeah, sure. And then when you come back, then you get, then now that train of thought has stopped. Now it's time for you to start a new one.
Yeah, that's true.
Now there's probably other ways, but that's the one that works for me. You need a little time to go like regroup.
Yeah.
Okay, so up front, I want to apologize to both of you or whoever's watching this video that talking about head trash can get very personal. And I just want your permission to ask the tough questions and say the things that might be offensive. Is that okay? You see my little picture there?
Yes.
That's me telling my wife I wasn't wrong. Okay, so what we want to talk about, think back to that situation. A lot of the things you said today, Brooke, and maybe, well, Luke, you've seen this before, but a lot of things you said today are going to directly apply. So I'm glad you brought up the problems you brought up. Okay, identity and role theory. Have we talked about this before? What your identity is versus your role?
No.
We have,
Yes, okay. I'm a salesperson, right?
Not with me. Yeah.
I'm a salesperson. I'm a business owner. I'm a father. I'm a recreational pilot. I'm an author, all those things are roles. That's not what I am. That's what I do. So what you are, who you are is not what you are, is the old expression. But identity is more about how you feel about yourself. I wake up every morning and say, I'm the best me I can be. There's nobody that can do John Tenney like me. If they are, I'm going to shoot him. Okay. There's nobody that can do Luke like Luke. There's nobody can do Brooke like Brooke. Okay. So we are the best we are. We always should be an I-10. You can recognize when you're not being I-10 when you say stuff like at least. Well, at least I'm not doing this. That's a warning sign. That's one of the warning signs of not being an I-10. Or if you say things like, gosh, just I can never do this. I try to do this and it never works. That's in the lower 4 there, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I is more of an attitude. It's how you feel about yourself. I was asking my kids and my wife yesterday, we did this in a little family meeting. What are you? What's your I? And I love what Gracia says. Well, I like to talk. I says, and what about listen? She goes, no, I don't like listening so much. She's very honest and upfront. But she's an I-10 when it comes to talking. Okay. She likes to communicate. She likes to get her ideas out there. I have no idea who she gets that from. Okay. Anyway, so if you're not an I-10 in the morning and you wake up, we got to get rid of the head trash. Okay. You might have been told, I forgot this slide was in here. This one I don't like, but I don't like it because it bothered me. Have you ever been told fake it till you make it? Have you ever heard that? I disagree with that. I tried faking it in the beginning. There were people who could tell I was faking it. When I first got on the business, I was faking it. And they could tell. They were only being nice to me, not coming out and saying, you sound like a total BSer. Because I did. What I do now is just start asking questions instead. Say, I don't know that. Still pretty new. I use the new thing now because I've been doing it less than 20 years. So I'm still pretty new, although I'm coming up on 20 years. So I'm going to say less than 25 years, you're new. And so I asked, but this is when we're talking about, and again, Brooke, this is when you're talking to this guy at the deli, or Luke, when you're talking to somebody who's shopping you. Is everyone a good match for you? I mean, I know you've heard this a million times, but I always need to be reminded of it. Is everyone, if I could get 100% of the business tomorrow, what would happen? If you had 100% of the printing business tomorrow, Luke, what would happen?
well, we'd be overwhelmed, really. We wouldn't be able to do it all.
That's the word that comes to mind to me, is overwhelmed, like couldn't handle it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to lose some. There are some clients who really are a good match for me that I'm not going to get. Same with you two. There's people like, oh, this is such a perfect match. And it doesn't happen. You just have to, move on. Because nobody bats 100, right? Nobody bats 1,000, I guess, if you're going to say it in baseball language. If you bat 300, you go in the Hall of Fame. So 3 times out of 10, you're a Hall of Fame hitter. Same thing. And have you had a bad client yet, Luke?
I wouldn't say I've had one at MidYork, but as far as having headache customers, oh, definitely.
It's a good idea.
Just to
Everyone should go through it. Everyone should have a bad client at least once in their life, so they can remember Remember that guy? Oh, yeah, I don't want that again. It gives you a sense
It's
of
fun when
perspective.
it's fun when they do a Google review and mention you negatively.
Yeah, okay, think of someone who did that, like, oh, what a nightmare that
Yeah.
was. I'm so glad they're not my client anymore.
Let
I
that sting.
I have
You
a
know.
couple I think of, and I don't want the bad clients. So I want to talk a little bit about some examples. I think I got 7 examples here. If you find yourself saying this, you don't know my circumstances, or under the circumstances, have you ever caught yourself saying this? And I know this is kind of brutal, but nobody needs to know your circumstances. It's not about you. Sales is never about the salesperson. We have to remember that. We have to become chameleons. We have to adapt to the people we're talking to. And they really don't want to hear what's going on. I mean, have you ever heard anyone who said, like, enough about me, so tell me about the problems in your life? That never happens. I've never had a prospect ask me, so how's things going in your life? If they do, I realize the sale's over. They're probably trying to get rid of me. Okay, so that one's fairly simple. Unlucky. Is there such thing as luck?
You're not going to rely on luck as a long-term thing.
But see, that's an I won thing. You're saying, you know, if I did that, I wouldn't work. You know, every time I try to do this, I get caught. Or every time I do this, it backfires on me. I'm just not lucky.
When right, the luck doesn't have anything to do with it. It's preparation and knowledge that come together for success. It's not luck.
And opportunity happens all the time. And when you're prepared for the opportunity, well, then you get lucky. Right. Exactly. Hear this all the time. I don't have any money. I don't have enough money. I have never had anyone tell me they have enough money. The only person I ever known in recent history who said I have lots of money was President Trump. Trump's the only one I know who said, like, I'm a very rich person. I've never heard anyone else say that. Okay. Everyone else always complains that they don't have any money. I don't have enough money. I mean, I do it. We all do it. But the fact is that we don't need a lot of money. All we need, our time is more important than money. I think this one we're going to, this one doesn't really apply to either of you two. So let's go to, this is one I worry about. People say, well, I'm not talented enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not a public speaker like you are. I'm not a natural salesperson. And I picked the tortoise down there because is the tortoise a talented runner? But he won the race, didn't he? Okay. So determination is the most important. I like it to say, if you want to be successful in sales, well, in business, there's 3 things to be hungry, but not outwardly so, to be humble, and to be willing to change your habits. If you can do those 3 things, it's a good lead into success. There are people who are afraid to fail. Oh gosh, I don't want to go in there. What if I stumble? What if I fall? To quote a DC Talk song, what if I just fall flat on my face? Well, so what? Go do it. You think you're the first person to fall flat on his face? And then there's also the other one. I'm afraid to succeed. Oh, I'm doing fine now. If I start making more money, it'll put me in a higher tax bracket. I've heard that. I've said that, actually. The second one was me. Geez, when I was making a lot of money, I was a target. Everybody was showing up trying to sell me stuff, trying to get my money. And whatever excuse you got to prevent you from growing, just insert it right here in number C. Okay. Too old, too young, fat, skinny, whatever. I like, that lady's 102. She finished that marathon. So I think she raced in not the Disney, the Space Coast Marathon that I was in, and she beat me. So I remember her going by me. So she's 100 and she wasn't 102 then. She was 90, 97 then, but still, it was pretty embarrassing. But this one hits me because I start thinking, well, I'm too old to do this. So, 15 years ago, I said I'm too old to get healthy. I'm already in the back nine, I'm hitting 50. This is it. I'm just on the long slide to the big sleep, but I started that you'll hear that expression more. But
That's horrible.
long slide to the big sleep. So that's the back nine, whatever you hear people say. But guess what? I started exercising, I started running, I started riding bicycles, I started doing all these things, and suddenly life became very much better. And the last 10 years have been the best of 10 years of my life, without a doubt. Every year gets better. I don't care how old you are. Yeah, things hurt. You get a little slower, get tired faster, but there are other things that make up for it. So, but one thing is, will we be here tomorrow? I like Brooke, that your expression exactly. Who knows?
We don't know.
Who knows? The horns could blow tonight. Right?
That's
And
right.
hopefully the three of us disappear. By the way, that book you gave me to read, Dream Big, that is a tremendous book. I laughed at a lot of the stuff he talks about it there.
I know.
Very funny, but he's also very poignant and hitting.
Yeah, he has another book that I want to read.
He has 3 books that I know of.
Yeah.
So Bob Goff, Dream Big. I highly recommend the book. I'm almost done with it. I've been reading like 15 minutes a day, and it's really the story about his son on the rapids falling out of the and he swears him to secrecy. You will not tell your mother that you fell out of the boat. Do you understand that? You will not tell your mother. We will not mention this. He says, first thing when he walks in the door, guess what, Mom? I fell out of the
I know. I love that book. And if you look him up on social media, he's a great person to follow too.
Well, have you
And he has a
called him?
podcast.
Have you called him?
No.
I'm going to call him. I mean, his
You
phone number's in the book. I'm going to give him a call. The guy
It
said,
is.
if you want to call and talk, go ahead. Just call me.
Yeah.
Or maybe
he
I'll
puts
text
his
him.
personal number.
Okay,
Oh.
these some little tips, and then I want to get into talking about some specific head trash. If you catch yourself making an excuse, remember excuses are useless. One of my mentors says that all the time. Excuses are useless. Nobody ever made money on excuses. He also says, under the circumstances, well, what are you doing under there? Get out of there. Somebody says it's out of my control. If it is really out of your control, then just deal with what you can't control. And I love this one. Whatever you're going through, go through it. A lot of people say, like, well, I'm going through a tough time right now. Well, that's because you're choosing to go through it. Now, I mean, death of a close friend or a family member, something, I understand. It's a tough time. And there's a certain amount of time that's you have to take to deal with that. But the older I get, the less death impressed me. I mean, I had 150 friends die last year or so, off of my Facebook list. I went through, there was about 150 people that, they died, he died, we didn't. So to me, that's just sort of a daily, that's every other day. I have a friend dying, Guess what? The older you get, the more often that's going to happen. Are you going to let it infect your life though? And I think back to what I'll tell you this, if I die tomorrow, I don't want it to affect your life. Okay. Please can carry on and don't stop doing what you're doing just because I'm not here. I don't want that responsibility. Please don't use me as your excuse. And then these 2 at the end here, I loved. I threw them in. They don't always, the second one doesn't have to much to do with what we're talking about, but the first one does. This is a 90-year-old lady who writes for the Cleveland Examiner, which is right near you, Brooke. So you could probably look her up. She's probably 92 now, but anyway, because you're 2 years old. Said if we threw all our problems on a pile and saw everyone else's, we'd quickly grab our own back. Right. And she also said, if a relationship has to be secret, you shouldn't be in it. That doesn't really, that's just something I thought was, those are the kind of things of wisdom she says. Okay. Now let's talk about some specific head trash items. What excuses are you using right now that are holding you back?
I'm unsure what I'm doing. Like I'm still learning.
I'm thinking
Um,
you have a specific excuse. I've heard you mentioned at least 3 times today that's holding you back.
At least 3 times
At
today.
least 3 times you've mentioned this today, that as soon as this happens, I can move forward.
Oh, my cards.
Yes.
No, I don't mean it as like a holding back, but I keep running into people who want a freaking card.
Well, why do they want the card?
Well, they either want a card to get me off their back,
That's number 1. Yeah.
or they actually want my card and they're interested in whatever. Or 3, they're wanting me to get me off their back.
No, that's back to number 1 again.
I know.
It's one or the other. They either really want your card or they want to get rid of you.
Right.
So,
And it's annoying because it's like, okay, how do I know which one it is?
well, how do we know? What's the rule?
Which rule?
Go ahead, Luke.
Divert away from the card.
Well, but
You've got to,
What's the rule? What should she do to find out?
what I would do is try and get their contact information.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it isn't obvious. The rule is if you feel it, say it.
Yeah.
I get the feeling, I am getting cards, but I get the feeling that, are you asking me for my card just because you want to end the interview? Or
That's how I feel.
I mean, if I did have a card and I handed it to you, can I ask you what you do with it? I have done that and I've gotten some amazing results. Well, just in case I need to get back a hold of you. I said, okay, well, you have your cell phone? What's your cell phone number? I'll call you so you can have my number. I'll text you.
That's basically the route I go with.
Yeah. And if they say no, then they don't want
them
your
talk
card.
until they ask you a question you don't have an answer to. And once they ask you a question you don't have an answer to, you admit that and you say, hey, let me get back to you. Let me get your contact information.
I gotta admit,
And then
if I
before-
picked up my phone and said, listen, here, can I text you? I'll text you my information.
There you go.
I'm waiting
Perfect.
for somebody to say, oh, I don't want to give you my number.
Mm.
It hasn't happened. Now, I've said it to people. I've said, just give me your card. I don't give out my cell phone number. I have said that because I'm a jerk, but I've never had anyone say, no, I don't give out my cell phone number. I mean, there are times I wished I'd done it. I was talking to some business associates over in a coffee shop in Cocoa, not Cocoa Beach, Cocoa, the little town of Cocoa. I'm trying to get established over there because we're going to be moving that way in the next 5 to 10 years anyway. And there was this woman at the table next to me with her mom and her 2 kids. One was a baby, one was probably 6. Okay. And the little daughter was running around doing what 6-year-olds do. She was coloring, she was dropping pens on the floor, she was going on and picking them up. And I looked over at her and I was kind of smiling and I made eye contact with the woman. We smiled at each other. And then when the person I was talking to left, she went to go to the bathroom or something. We just looked and I said, I remember when mine were that age. She goes, well, do you have grandchildren? I said, oh, hell no, not yet. She says, I don't know. My 15-year-old has a date tonight. And she laughed. Okay, so but we just, exchanged little small talk. And then I went back to talking with the person. And as she got up to leave, she comes over and puts her hand on my shoulder and she says, I just want to tell you, I think I'm in love with you just by listening to things you're saying. And I think my husband would be in love with you too. And I said, "Look, first of all, I didn't know how to handle that. No one has ever said that to me. And just out of the blue like that, I was thinking like, should I call the police or should I be saying, should I give her a hug?" I said, well, oh, great. So, and I gave her daughter one of the pens, and she said, "Can I have your card? Because I'd like to give you a call." And what do you think I did that was stupid? I gave her my card. I shouldn't have done that. I should have said, "You know what? I don't have cards, but can I text you my information? Because I would so much like to call this woman back. I know her name. Her name's Brianna, but I don't know anything else about her. And I have never heard from her. And that was a month ago. And I would like to know what it was that I was saying that she found so attractive. I think we were just talking about COVID, me and Debbie, we were just talking about all the restrictions and how we thought they were stupid. And this is all political, follow the money, blah, blah, blah. The usual stuff you hear conservatives saying in a coffee shop. But
Yeah.
so I made a mistake there. I should have just picked up my phone and go, you know what? I don't have cards. Can I text you my info? So I want to warn you that cards are a crutch.
Mm.
If somebody asks you for a card, you just say, I'm getting cards. I don't have them yet. But in the meantime, could I just text you my info? And that's a good indicator. If they say, "Oh, no, that's all right," then they don't really want your card. They're just trying to get rid of you.
You ever go to an expo and notice how many are on the floor?
Wait, say that again, Lou?
Have you ever gone to an expo and noticed how many business cards were laying on the floor?
Oh, I have my own trick for expos.
Sometimes in the aisle, like just people, and you think that they accidentally dropped it. They
No,
didn't,
oh, here's the
you
card.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as you turn around, boom. The bigger the expo, the more they'll be on the floor. If it's like a 3 or 4 day expo, if they don't sweep the floors at night, it'll be like confetti by the end.
It is true that people just throw, and it's not their fault. It's the fault of the people who run in and go, "Here's my card, here's my card, here's my card."
Yeah.
There was one guy who
Spray
used to,
spray.
this one guy used to come into a networking group and he had like a stack of cards, this thick, and he go, "Oh, anybody want my card?" And he would just throw them all over the room, and the room would be littered with his business card. Now he was a printer. I still remember Chris. Chris would throw all those cards around there. I asked him, like, "You still do that?" He goes, "Nah, no. The restaurant started getting mad at me because they had to clean up the cards." I said, "Yeah, I would think." But I would say, don't be that guy or girl. Don't be the one who's just shoving cards up here. Go to a network room, put a card on everybody's table, at everybody's place. That's annoying. That's a rookie. When I see that come in, that's a rookie move. New networker. Or comes in putting a brochure at everybody's seat, they're not going to come back. They're just a
How about
spray.
the thing behind the windshield wiper?
Oh. Well, at
what
least
that
that's
reminds
less
me of.
obtrusive. I mean, you can just reach up. By the way, those end up in the parking lot too, don't they?
Mhm.
Once in a while, it's something worth reading. Like if it's an event coming up, like, oh, I might want to go to that. But if it's, selling me car insurance or something, no, I'd throw it away. So what else? What other excuses are holding you back? So Brooke, I'm sorry, was that okay with the cards?
Yeah.
I
I don't care.
You don't hate me now?
No.
Okay.
I still think it's good to have some.
It's better to have than have not.
Right. But it's like getting down to the fact of, okay, do you want my card because you're going to use my card? Or do you want my card to get me off your back?
Well,
So
that's what the phrase "I get the feeling" comes in handy.
yeah. And
You know-
I think like if they want my card because they want my card, then it's great to have if they ask.
You know, I've
But-
noticed some people ask for my card and this is sort of an automatic thing to do. Just kind of wondering if I were to give you a card, are you planning on calling me?
right,
Hmm.
like,
Or do you
it's
just just need another bookmark for your book or,
You know, some people actually are trying to just be cordial and just be professional, and they're trying to almost make your conversation more inviting and more professional. There, it's that's a technique and part of it too. It's not always someone just trying to get you off their back, you know.
yeah,
these are the cards I've decided to keep through my networking in the recent years, okay? There are hundreds of others, thousands of others that have gone into the rectangular file. It's, I agree, Brooke, they're good things to have, but please don't let it slow you down.
right. Yeah, no. I think it's just frustrating. It's mostly frustrating because people ask and it's like,
Well, did you do your
One-
headshot Friday?
yes, I'm so excited.
All right, good.
This Friday morning.
No, you said you were gonna do it last Friday.
I didn't put that under the things to do next week.
Okay, no, we don't structure it that way anymore, remember? I see.
Well, there was a
But
little
thank you, Amy.
column that says things I need to do next week.
It's-
Did I not put it under there?
No, you put it under takeaways, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Oh, what I
Um,
need to do next week. Oh, I see. All right, so I had it. Yep, okay. So good, you're gonna get it done on Friday. Great,
Yes.
awesome. So here, just saved it down to one page. How about that?
But I'm trying to think of anything else.
Well, there's a couple other things I want to talk about while you're thinking that have to do with your head trash and how to keep track of it. And it's called journaling. I don't know if anybody keeps, I mean, a lot of people keep a journal, but you keep a sales journal or a professional journal. This is what I journal. If you were to look at I have a little week at a glance thing and I write down every day, I put these 4 letters, SPHB. Okay. And I write a number from 1 to 10, how I did. And sometimes I write a little note. Usually I just put the number, but I'll be thinking to myself, well, I spent 15 minutes in prayer. I did my devotional. I saw some things happen today that showed God at work, so that's an 8 spiritually. Right? So maybe even a 10. I put down a number. Personal. I wanted to do something nice for my wife. So I did the dishes, fed the cats, took out the trash. That was a very rare day, so that's a 10. Things like that. Health. Did I do my cardio, my health for the day? Because by the way, the health is the most important thing you have. More important than anything. So I'm glad you went to the gym. See, so you give yourself a letter for that. And then business. Did I hit my goals today? How well did I do? And I keep you see, I have a lot of high numbers. So what I do is periodically I'll go back and look at a day, like when I had low numbers, and I'll look and I'll wonder why the numbers were low. And I'll realize that things I was worried about there, this is sort of a side thing, but it's the main thing too. When I gave myself those low numbers, the things I was worried about, things I was sad about, ended up meaning nothing. Okay. Or it ended up not being an issue, or it was something that we overcame. No big deal. No biggie. Right. So journaling helps you to kind of look back and see how you're doing. By the way, I don't recommend this, but I'm also weighing myself every night and putting my weight because I'm trying to lose 20 pounds, but that can get frustrating.
You're what?
Trying to lose 20 pounds.
No, but before that, every night you're doing what?
Weighing myself.
Oh, okay.
Put my weight on there. And because I'm trying to get down to well, a classified number.
I don't believe in weighing yourself.
And a lot of people don't, but I'm a numbers guy, so
I know you are.
I like numbers. Let's me see how I'm doing. So prospects give you excuses too. We've talked about all these, but let's discuss them again. Can you get me a quote? We talked about that one, right? What would you like the quote to say? Again, this takes me into a questioning techniques. If someone asks me this, oh yeah, well, I'm going to have to run this by, our CPA. Like, geez, we should have found that out in the decision step, right? So that indicates to us we didn't do a good decision step. And of course, mine and Brooke's favorite, we'll pray about it. We'll be praying about this. Have you ever had anyone say that we'll pray about it and then come back and say, we prayed and the answer was yes? And Luke, have you ever heard anyone say that?
I actually never have. No,
Oh,
no.
I get it.
And
once in a while.
I've been turned down a lot in years of selling retail. We could get turned down multiple times a day, every day. But I've heard a lot of we'll sleep on it, we'll think about it, yada yada yada.
Yeah, we'll sleep on it.
That's
Is another one. Yeah, we need to sleep on this.
that's your classic no.
Well,
That's,
what it is an indication that everything hasn't been covered, right? That they're not happy with some part of the process. Some part of the interaction, they're not 100%, they're not at a 10. Well, we need to sleep about it. So I'm going to ask them, I get the feeling you're not fully convinced this would work. In my experience, it's been one of two things. It's one, I don't know the whole story. I haven't heard everything that's wrong. Or two, you don't really believe that the solution I've given you will work. Is it one of those? And then they'll start going into more. See, what you do then is you back up the pain and start hearing, well, what's really going on? Is there something I need to know that I haven't been told yet? Or is it, do you like the idea of the solution we're giving you, you just don't believe it? Is that what it is? So when someone tells me they got to sleep on it, or, we got to think it over, which is just another way of saying, that's another way of saying I got to think it over. We'll sleep on it. When you say it, what is it you need to sleep on? What is it that you're unsure of at this point? That you can do that too. Is there any way I can help? Can I get you some more information about that? Can I do some research? No. So what is it? Is it that you like what I'm saying, but you're just not sure it's real? And sometimes they'll tell you. And if they don't, so what? You can't lose what you don't have. Have you had people ask you to send a brochure? Send me samples.
Yeah.
Now, in your business, that could be a valid objection. I'd like to see some samples of your work. And I think you and I have been over this. We said, I would say to you, I would love to bring you some samples. When would be a good day to stop by? Or I'd love to mail you some samples, but I'd like to go over them with you on a Zoom call. Can we schedule that? Don't let them out. And then if they don't schedule it, then they're just doing the blow off. Send me some samples. I'm really not interested. That's like, give me your card. Don't call us, we'll call you. That's what that is. Has anyone asked you, Brooke, for a brochure or more information about our business?
Not a brochure, no. I've only had like one woman be like, oh, can you write that down? Can you write employeronomics down on this piece of paper?
Okay. That's fair
Um,
enough.
but not a brochure.
I had somebody ask me can you mail me a brochure? And I said, thought about doing brochures. Problem is that every time we printed a brochure, it's been obsolete like a month after it was printed. So we spent many $1,000s on this website we have. You wouldn't be interested in reviewing that, would you? Oh, yeah, sure. I could look at your website. Okay. And would you like to go over it with me together? I mean, we could do a Zoom call. And that's you find out then most people say, oh, no, I'll just look at it at my own time. I know that they're not interested. Right. But they say, oh, you would go over the website with me? Yeah, if you'd like to set up like a half-hour Zoom call, I could review some of the pertinent parts of the website that apply to you. But I need to be talking to you to do that so we could figure out what applies to you. Does that make sense? Now, I'm going to tell you that it helps to be the author of the website because I know where everything is. So I know that you probably haven't been over every single page of our website because I think I'm the only one in the world who has been, because I wrote most of it. So, but it is something you might want to get familiar with. There's a lot of information on that website. There's almost 1,000 pages. Okay. There's over 200 articles. So, but that's when somebody asks me for a brochure, I don't just say like, hey, go to the website. I soften it first. So, we used to have a brochure. We have a bunch of brochures. They're all outdated, but we have spent several $1,000s on the website. Would you like to schedule a time where we could do a Zoom call and go over the website to the pertinent pages that matter to you? And so far, I think 2 have said yes. So those have been very interesting Zoom calls. But the rest have just said, oh, no, I'll take a look at it when I get home or something like that. What is that? What are they saying when they say that?
No, I'm not going to look at it.
Not interested,
Yeah.
right? What you have said means nothing to me. So thank you very little. Going on with my life.
Yeah. And it's like,
So that's, just remember that when, we get concerned about having like websites and things like, and brochures, and we really don't need them.
yeah.
What happened? Okay, 5 minutes left. First of all, before we do lessons learned, is there any particular, you said you were trying to think of something, Brooke, earlier. Is there any particular incident that's come to your mind, or you too, Luke, that you would like to discuss right now and that we could hash out as a group together?
Go ahead, Brooke. Ladies first. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think I don't want to say I'm struggling because I'm not necessarily struggling, but I'm having a difficult time finding new ways to communicate with people other than just networking or communicate directly to clients. And obviously, hopefully by the end of this year, getting a client. But
it'll happen before that.
But it's like, holy cow, like who do I talk to? Who should I talk to? Who's really gonna be interested? And it's just like I think about this at night. Like I lay in bed and I'm like, I feel like my mind is always working.
I don't want you thinking about that.
No, I'm like,
because
I'm thinking, okay, who should I call? Who should I email? Who should I text? Who should I go to? Who would be good in the area? It's just like my mind is racing and I don't know what my next step should be.
Well, I have sent you, okay, I'm not even going to say it. Who do you think you should be contacting?
I don't know. obviously small businesses, but it's
Okay, let's go back to the two things I like what you said first. I don't know any other ways to do things except through networking and direct contact. Okay. That's enough. Those are great right there.
Okay.
Networking and direct contact, because leave advertising to us, since advertising doesn't have much effect anyway. It's a long-term branding thing. It's not I would also, do you remember the 3-foot rule?
no.
If you get within 3 feet of somebody,
Oh, yes, yes.
smile and say hello.
I do that all the time.
Okay.
Like, I'm always doing that. I think this is my struggle, is I'm afraid I'm not doing enough.
Don't worry about it. First of all, don't be afraid of anything. You're a spiritual person.
Right.
You're not. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's
But I
it's
just
going to
like,
happen. I mean, one of my mentors, Jerry, he says you got to pray like it depends on God, but work like it depends on you.
yeah,
But you're doing it, and I like the way you and I share that. We both feel we're not doing enough.
yeah, we're not doing enough. But
But there's a book called by A.L. Williams, who is in a lousy multi-level, but the book title I love. It's all you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough. So as long as you're talking to almost everybody you get within 3 feet of, and remember that there's another rule I want you to remember, the rule of 250, is that every person you meet knows at least 250 people that you don't. Okay. So when we meet someone, we're not necessarily selling to them. We're just looking to meet their people. It's second level introductions, or we're looking just be a nice person. Just get to know people.
yeah,
You don't have to sell all the time. In fact, I've stopped selling. I've just had conversations. My mentor group is working on this right now, just how to have a conversation.
right.
We've got 6 steps we use. Well, I'll go into the first. The first one is make eye contact. Right? You two are both really good at that. Second one is smile. Give me a smile. Brooke, great smile. Luke, you need to work on that. We need to see some teeth. Come on, get the smile. Just do that in the mirror a few times. Okay. You just smile. Okay. And now when I say make eye contact, I'm not talking about a staring contest.
Yeah.
Who's going to blink first? You just go, and give them a little nod, or a wave, And this could happen. I mean, do either of you go to a coffee shop like a Starbucks or anything, Dunkin' Donuts or anything like that?
I mean, I go through the drive-through. I don't really go in.
Well, here's a habit I'd like you to change.
Okay.
Park, walk inside, get in line.
Okay.
And just while you're standing there will be other people around. Make eye contact, smile. Come up with something we call an interruption, a pattern interrupt, basically. This, I heard one of the guys, Don, said he's using this last night and he gets conversations going. He says, I had to change my order. They don't have the stuff I used to order. Have you noticed there's shortages lately? And people are going, oh no, really? What happened? Says, oh yeah. So you from around here? And then you go into form. F, family, where you're from. O, occupation. R, recreation. M, money or mission. I'll say to them, so, oh yeah. So you work around here? Oh yeah, what do you do? And they'll say something what they do, and they go, oh, that sounds pretty good. Are you really enjoying that? Yeah. Is that it? Have you hit your goal? Are you where you're going to end up, or what's next? That's another great term. What's next? Just for having a conversation. So that's basically the 6 steps, is just getting them talking, and then you can start talking about, oh, so what do you do? Oh, because eventually they're going to turn around and ask you what you do, but you listen first, right? It sometimes takes 3 or 4 minutes, but they will eventually turn around and say, so what do you do? Oh, and then you have, oh, I'm actually in sales, although I don't really consider myself a salesman. I've said that before. People say, like, well, how do you sell? I says, well, that's, you know what? I found out the best salesmen and people that don't act like salesmen. Have you found that out? And then one guy even said, are you selling me right now? I go, not yet. I don't know if you're buying. Let me know if you're buying. I'll try to sell you something. It's good to have a couple quick comebacks ready. And by the way, I didn't have those the first 100 times. I fell on my face a lot. But just get a conversation. Well, I don't know. Are you buying? No, I'm not. I'm just getting coffee. I just having conversation. But we do HR outsourcing. I'm sure that's nothing that would interest you. Or, I'm a commercial printer. We do professional cartons and packaging. That's probably not anything that you'd be interested in. And then they'll say, no, but I know a guy. And that's when you listen up. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, I'd like to resume this conversation with you. Can I text you my information? Once it's the right time to say that, but I just have conversations. That's what we're teaching people from the mentor group was just go out and have conversations. I think it would apply to you, Brooke, and apply to you, Luke. Because remember that rule of 250. Everybody knows 250 people you don't know. And it may, you remember what was that thing, the Kevin Bacon thing, the 6 degrees of separation? Is that everybody is related to Kevin Bacon through 6 degrees? Like if you talk to one person, he knows someone, he knows someone, he knows someone, and she knows someone, and then she knows Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
He did a thing called the 6 degrees of separation, that the entire world is linked by 6 degrees of separation. So just think, if you can talk to 6 different people who are all new, you're going to meet everyone, or you can get to anyone. And by the way, that has shown to be in practice. I stood up at a leads group once, said, I would like to meet the owner of Amick Construction, because I see their trucks around here all the time, and I bet he needs payroll and workers' comp. And the guy looked at me and goes, well, that's Jeff Fuquay. I go, oh, do you know him? Says, yeah, my father's his business partner. I went, oh, really? Says, could he introduce me? He says, well, yeah, but they had a bad breakup. They don't get along, but I could get an introduction to you. And he did. And I went and I sat in this guy's office. Now, did he become a client? No, but guess what? He had all these subcontractors that he was worried about having, payroll and workers' comp. This is not an Ohio thing. This is a Florida thing, or any other state but Ohio. But he introduced me to several people who did become clients. So how many levels was that? That was the guy. I went to his father. I went to Jeff, and then he introduced me to clients. So that was four degrees of separation. Sorry, I went on too long. Okay, takeaways, wins and losses. Luke, what are you taking away?
I would just kind of going back to some of the head trash that any salesperson can get sort of clogged up in, and the whole, oh, am I bothering people? So I had the advantage of one of our sales reps recently retired after a 37+ year career. And I had the advantage of sort of inheriting some of the prospects that he was calling on. So with that, he also handed down his notes. And just to kind of see his process, and just to kind of see how, if you find a gatekeeper, put them to work.
So I want you to start calling those Zenoisms.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's
You're talking about Zeno, right? Yeah.
I went through and counted. Yeah, I went through and counted it. If he wanted a name at a company, he'd call him once a week until he got a name. Almost like tough guy in his way right through, and you can see times where it worked.
John was a very diligent bulldog kind of sales guy. He's not going to give up. He won't let go until he gets what he's looking for. And you can do that without,
and of course,
and you can do that politely and in a friendly way. You can do it without being a jerk. You can just be persistent. All right, a good one. How about you, Brooke? What's your takeaway?
How to redirect the "Can I have your card?" Because that's what I've been getting a lot lately. So
if they go down the wrong path, go to the bathroom.
Yes. And yeah, he's gonna say no.
All right, we went over and we have another meeting in less than an hour. So thank you both for joining. And when you see the other folks like Bob, ask, and Tom, we haven't seen them in a while. See what's going on. I mean, I know that Matt and what's his name? Dale. Matt and Dale are pretty busy, but I'd love to see them too. All right, Luke.
All right, yeah.
Say hi,
All right,
say hi
take
to
care.
my brother for me. All right.
Will
See you
do.
in
See ya.
see you in an hour.